When life gives you speeders, you say thank you. I'm Anthony.
I'm David.
I'm Kirby.
I'm Dr. Kurt's dad.
And I'm Katie.
Welcome to issue number 163 of the Crimson Cowl Comic Club podcast. Each and every week, we meet here to talk about comic books. On this week's show, instead of our club discussion for crossover issue number 2, which some of us are still waiting for it in the mail, hopefully we'll cover that next week. Stay tuned. We will have a big weekly review segment, which we're going to go all around the club members here, talk about the books that we've been reading, both new and old. We will also revisit the Pocket Dimension, one of our newer segments in which if there's any kind of fun show and tell show for our YouTube audience, Crimson Cowl Comic Club on YouTube, and tell for the podcast listeners. And, you know, if you watch the video, you actually get the audio too. We're not just going to just do miming. So that's a bonus. So if you have anything fun and cool, we will reveal what's hiding in the Pocket Dimension. Then we will have a letters page segment, which this week's question is a sort of a sequel to last week's episode. Which comic book character drew your name in the Secret Santa exchange and got you an awful gift that you want to return? So you can start thinking of your answers, and we will talk about that later in the show. All right. To continue on my hype for the new Wonder Woman movie that is now available in select theaters and HBO Max, I've been reading some things from my Wonder Woman collection, including the Wonder Woman collection of Gods of Gotham, which is I had the issue count somewhere on here, but it's a collection of a story arc. All right. Gotham City has seen more than its share of disasters, plagues, earthquakes, and siege. All have been visited upon the city that the Dark Knight has sworn to protect, and its citizens have survived them all. But now they face a new threat, a threat manifested directly out of their own misery and suffering. The children of Ares, Greek god of war, have been awoken after centuries of dormancy by the lure of human despair. Who will stand against these primal forces of chaos and destruction? Naturally, Gotham's native heroes are ready to give their all, but against power like this, they'll need the help of the one hero who can challenge the force of three gods of destruction, the daughter of Hippolyta, the champion of the Amazons, Wonder Woman. All right, this is something that I picked up in one of the last Rummit sales over at Crimson Cowl, this collection of issues here. So I had never read this story, but it is bringing together the worlds of Wonder Woman and Batman, all existing within Gotham City. The story really kicks off right off the bat. They don't mess around with getting into it. This was originally published in issues 164 to 167 of this particular volume of Wonder Woman, of a more, within the last, 10, 20 years, Wonder Woman or so. They jump right into it here as we see all of the different Gotham City villains to Batman, who are all almost like we've seen the in the death metal, or if we've seen in the Deceased, where we see all these crazy mashups of our classic characters. We see something like that's happening here, but these the children of Ares, the god of war, are basically coming to Gotham City, taking over the bodies of these villains in order to kind of create a portal that's going to open up a link to bring Ares into Gotham City. So when all that stuff is going on, Wonder Woman is pretty quick to figure out that help is needed. This is done by Phil Jimenez, J.M. DeMatteis, and Andy Lanning. But here we go. Right in the opening, we see Wonder Woman kind of soaring through the skies out of Themyscira, heading over to Gotham. And what's funny is when we see Gotham side of it, Batman is all like, no, don't tell Wonder Woman, I don't need her help. It's just like Batman's like, all right, I got this, even though he's well over his head. But it's just kind of funny. He basically, they kind of tease some of their possible kind of like a possible relationship in that sense of the way they kind of talk both before and after this story. So you can kind of see that, maybe there's other reasons why maybe Batman doesn't want Diana showing up to save the day. But as the other Bat family members all appear in this to try to help out, they definitely need a couple Amazonian warriors to jump into the scene, kind of showing off some more of the awesome artwork here. Phil Jimenez does the scripting and the art, doing double duty on this one here. But yeah, this was super fun. Here's a good look at Joker that's kind of possessed and taken over. And what's cool about this too is that Joker himself is sort of trying to fight back. So once in a while, you hear his voice kind of come out while the Greek god voice is kind of speaking at the same time, trying to keep control of the body. So there is a little internal struggle, which kind of leads to some great moments of kind of mentioning that, like, even the insanity that is Joker is too much for a god to like keep bundled up or keep quiet. But yeah, this was super fun. I was really engaged with it. I wasn't sure if I was going to really care for this one too much, just with just a lot of with all the god stuff and all the villain stuff. There's just a lot of dialogue driven in these first couple issues that was just kind of like getting me lost, because there was so much lingo and so much like poetry in that sense, where I'm just like, all right, I'm not really following what's happening here. But by halfway through the story, it really started to pick up for me, and I really started digging it. Here's another awesome splash page there. But yeah, I think if you're a fan of Wonder Woman and Batman, and or one or the other, and haven't read the other one, this is a great way to kind of get the best of both worlds. Is all done in this sort of trade paperback floppy collection of this arc. It might have been before they officially got certain trade dresses and things like that, because it is one of those where I'm like, all right, where do I file this? But it does have binding writing on there, so I'm like, all right, I'll go in with the trade, so rather than in with like the issue boxes or something. So but yeah, I highly enjoyed it, and that is Wonder Woman, Gods of Gotham, and that's I think an Andy, hold on here, Adam Hughes cover on there. That one I wanted to show off. All right, we will jump over talking a little more about DC as well, but is there another publisher that you're going to talk about at the same time?
Yeah, I think it was really tough this week to decide if I wanted to talk about DC books or if I wanted to talk about Marvel books. So I thought, why not talk about both of them?
Whoa!
And I'll talk about. It depends on who you ask. The title is either DC versus Marvel or Marvel versus DC. Actually, the collection was published by both DC and Marvel, so they took turns. So like, it's something like issue 1 and 4, I think, are like DC versus Marvel, and then 2 and 3 are Marvel versus DC, or however they worked it. And then there were a lot of other comics that kind of went with this, and those, like, half of them were published by Marvel, half were published by DC. So this isn't the first time that we've had a crossover. I think this might be the most recent crossover, though, so it's been a while, because this is like 90. Now I got to actually go back and look how long it has been. This is 96 that they did the DC Marvel versus books. The kind of the premise, the setup here is there are these two godlike beings who kind of forgot that each other existed, and when they do, they fight. And this has happened before, and when it happened before, they tore each other into shards, which were spread across the universe, or the multiverse, or some verse. And these entities slowly kind of went off on their own. They forgot that each other existed. and it kind of basically this is yet another comic book origin of the universe type of story, that it started with these godlike entities. And one of them becomes sort of this entity for the Marvel universe, and one becomes for DC. And when they realize that each of them exists, they come into contact, and it draws the Marvel and the DC universes together and merges them. So you've got Superman and Spider-Man both operating, in their alter egos as Peter Parker. Well, this was during the Clone Saga, so it's Ben Reilly, but they used the name Peter Parker for this purpose, I think, because it was probably the more familiar name. So it's not to have to bring all the clone stuff over into this and make it more convoluted than it needed to be. So
Plus
they call him
Peter-
Peter Parker.
Plus, Peter probably felt a little left out, so he probably wrote, called up both Marvel and DC. He's like, hey, come on, guys.
Yeah.
Well, if you happen to be primarily a DC reader, you might have heard of Peter Parker. You probably didn't hear of Ben Reilly. So.
Right. So this kind of simplified it. And he mentioned both names in there, but says for professional reasons he's going by Peter Parker. So, and J. Jonah Jameson takes over as publisher of the Daily Planet. You've got all kinds of things going on. You've got a little bit of a love story going on between the Tim Drake version of Robin and Jubilee from the X-Men, or at that time it was from Generation X.
I thought you were going to say that J. Jonah became commissioner of Gotham City, but oh wait, that was in a movie, I think.
Yeah, actually, that would have been funny. I'm sure that they didn't know that was going to happen.
Yeah.
But interestingly enough, there is a comment in here that does reference a movie, and that is
The
actually
Muppet movie.
1951's Superman versus the Mole Men. It's actually referenced in here because with all this merging, Mole Man and his minions are taking over the Batcave, and Superman shows up, and Hulk is there, and Hulk makes a comment, something about it's Superman versus the Mole Men, which was in reference to the 1951 serial black and white Superman. So that was kind of cool that they were able to work that in. I always wondered how Superman was able to battle the Mole Men in a movie anyways without being a crossover. So you see a lot of this versus stuff. These entities, because the last time they fought each other, it basically destroyed them and was just catastrophic. So this time around, they decided to have these heroes of these two universes battle each other, and the whoever wins, whichever side wins, that will be the one universe that remains. So they're forced to fight in order to save their universe, either the DC universe or the Marvel universe. And because DC didn't learn its lesson with the Jason Todd thing, they actually let the readers vote on the outcomes of the battles. So there were a number of battles that were set up. It was like Superman versus Hulk, Wonder Woman versus Storm, Batman versus Captain America, Robin versus Jubilee, Flash versus Quicksilver. It was almost like a Jacob's birthday battle thing, So actually, if Jacob should suggest any of those, and I know that he'd already brought up the Flash versus Quicksilver, it's handled in here. And
I referred to that as part of the reason you say the Flash wins.
Yes, because readers voted that the Flash wins. So yeah, you got a lot of that stuff. Namor versus Aquaman, and Green Lantern versus Silver Surfer, which I think they had actually had a crossover event, which is referenced in here. So when it's
correct.
Kyle Rayner version of Green Lantern and Silver Surfer, and so when they meet together, they've already known each other. So they didn't ignore that happened or anything like that. They actually bring it up that they've met before and worked together before, and that it was a shame that they had to fight now. And that's kind of the case for all of them. You know, you get Thor versus the Shazam version of Captain Marvel when he was still called Captain Marvel. And all of these characters, they don't want to fight each other. They would rather work together and try to find a way to stop this. However, they've been told that if they don't fight, if they resist, then these beings will just destroy everything. So you get all these battles, and they're kind of mashed up in there. And then we get to a point where a few of these characters, like I'm trying to think who the second one was, the name of it was Spectre, and the name is escaping me right now, from Marvel. They kind of intervene and merge the two universes into the amalgam universe, where a lot of these characters are merged. So you have Superman merged with Captain America to get Super Soldier, and you get Wolverine and Batman merged to form Dark Claw, and so on. Doctor Strange Fate, and a lot of these characters got their own spin-off one-shot comics. And so I haven't tackled those. I'm probably going to read a number of those, and next week I'll discuss some of those. But this is the main story right here. They do include Doctor Strange Fate #1 as part of this, because what happens in that book affects what happens in the overall book. So this is really 5 issues. It's the 4 issues of the DC versus Marvel, plus issue #1 of Doctor Strange Fate. So if you're fans of Marvel and DC, this is an interesting look at who would win in fights. It also is a great look at what happened if you kind of mashed up these universes and merged some of the characters like Superboy and Spider-Man to get Spider-Boy. So
it was a great series. It was fun.
Yeah, and also it was, anytime that you have a chance to take the big two and put them together and have some sort of crossover event, you know, it's a good time. You know, they've done crossovers in the past. They've done too few, in my opinion, of the big crossovers. Every once in a while, you'll get something like the Silver Surfer, Green Lantern, or whatever. But doing an all-out universe-wide crossover is great, which is why at the end of Doomsday Clock, I was really excited that they were kind of they were hinting at that happening, and there had been some hints along the way. You know, they kept putting these little things in some of the DC books or some of the Marvel books, where they would include a Marvel character in a DC comic, or vice versa, without really saying it was, but you knew it was. And then at the end of Doomsday Clock, they hint at this, this big crossover that was going to happen in 2020, whatever year that it.
I think we're still waiting for it.
Yeah, because I don't think the year's come. So it would actually be really great if that actually, if they pulled that off and put a crossover together, and we got that. And I forget what it was going to be called. Something like Secret Crisis, I think, is what they were calling it. You know, kind of a blend of Secret Wars and DC.
That might cross over with Deadpool's Secret House of Civil Crisis War or whatever.
But I thought it was fun. Like a lot of things like this, I think it's just really fast paced. There's things that I'd like to see more of. All of these battles are usually about 2 pages long, so you don't get a really good sense of who really would win and for what reason. In fact, I guess a spoiler here would be in the Batman Captain America. Batman is the victor, but in that particular case, it's because something happened. It wasn't because Batman flat out beat Captain America. whereas is most of these you have a victor for one reason or another, but a lot of the cases it wasn't a clear-cut victory. So they really could have gone a lot further in some of these battles between characters to really show how and why one character would win over another character. They'd go more in depth, kind of like we do when we talk about it during Jacob's birthday battles. But great book, entertaining, fun. I'm looking forward to going back and reading a lot of these other amalgam books that came in the middle of this.
I was always curious on who would be the victor between Mr. Freeze and Cyborg. They're both named Victor. All right, next up is going to be Kirby.
Frickin' butt-kicking zombie ants. This one, basically, some ants back in prehistoric day were basically our size, and they get frozen into the earth. And eventually, many years later, a volcano erupts and they get broken loose. It's a black and white comic. So they get broken loose and get sent into the ocean, and they float to the United States, where they become armored zombie ants, 4 of them. We're already dealing with our own zombie issue in the United States. So we got zombies here that are mindless, brain-eating, bad zombies, and there's some that can speak and are living off some homemade brains that a scientist came up with. And those characters come across the zombie ants and decide to help them out because the zombie ants look like good guys, and they're attacking the bad zombies and the military that's attacking everybody. The ants help out with that, and then they find out about the professor and the brain stuff that he's making, so they go through a bunch of different phases of working with that. It's, of course, not a heavy read because you got a lot of zombies talking, so zombies don't say too much to start with, but down the road, you find out that there's these giant flies cruising around that also got released when the volcano erupted, and they're basically the flies that eat the heads off the zombie ants. And if you haven't figured it out by now, this trade paperback is basically based on real life creatures. We were introduced to zombie ants years ago, and someone turned it into a story, and those zombie ants do get attacked by flies that eat their heads off, and just like the murder hornets and stuff will lay eggs in the ants and stuff like that, and infect them and do things to them. But it's a fun story watching all these different little groups, the good zombies, the bad zombies, the zombie ants, the bugs coming to eat the heads off everything. And for some reason they're focused just on the ant heads instead of the human zombie heads too. And then you got the military trying to take out everybody. But yeah, this is a fun, quick little read. It's not by anybody I know. It's done by First Comics, and the Steve Stern did all the writing and stuff, and then art and colors were done by Philbach Brothers. But I've never heard of them, but this is a fun little thing that basically anybody could do with anything, just like the murder hornets and stuff, and our African killer bees and army ants and all that. You can make tons of stories. They've done the tarantula stories, the snake stories, all that type of things. So.
This is quite the coincidence, but I was looking on my floor and I seem to have found a zombie ant here. Once again, subscribe to Crimson Cowl Comics on YouTube.
Yeah, I keep expecting a woodchuck to show up.
I actually got to find him again. He disappeared.
That'd be a reference to Under the
He
Cowl.
keeps running away every week.
All right. We are going to jump over to Dr. Kurtstad with our next title.
Yes. Well, I'm sure everybody here has heard of Deadpool kills the Marvel Universe. I mean, for years I'd hear about that, even though I hadn't read it. The basic plot is that Deadpool goes even crazier than Deadpool normally is and kills everybody in the Marvel Universe, hoping to end his own life as well, because he's not that happy being Deadpool and would like to. So he gets all the way to the end of the Marvel Universe. He's killed off everyone, all the good guys, all the bad guys, but he's still here. And he realizes there's all these multiverses with all these superheroes too. How am I going to kill all of these off? Which leads into the sequel. I don't know how many people have read it, because I hadn't even heard about this till I found it. Deadpool Illustrated.
I've heard
Anybody
of it, but
catch
I've
this
never
one
read it.
before? What?
I have actually read a few titles from that.
Yeah, I loved it. What happens is Deadpool decides, well, what I have to do is kill off all the historic ideas that created the heroes in the first place. And so he has spared from the Marvel Universe a few of the evil geniuses who were criminals, the Mad Thinker and Egghead and a few others. And he gets them to build him a little machine that will send him into the Ideaverse, so that he can go into all the classic stories and start to kill off all the heroic ideas in the classic stories. And so we find Deadpool, first of all, the first one they show is he's sitting in a little rowboat when Moby Dick comes and swallows him. And then when Ahab suddenly sees Moby Dick kind of float up out of the water, and he goes, someone's killed him before I have. And then we see Deadpool slash his way out of Moby Dick, dragging Pinocchio with him, by the way. And from there, the insanity ensues. We have a great scene in the book where Deadpool is taking on Little Women. They're bashing him with frying pans and various things as they fight it out in their little house. And Deadpool's trying to, at first, Deadpool's like getting totally whooped by them until they realize that they can't kill him. We have a whole, one of my favorite little visual pieces they had is when Deadpool goes to kill Tom Sawyer. They don't really show anything except the white fence that Tom Sawyer is painting. He convinces all these other people to help him paint the white fence. And then suddenly they have just thought balloons that are saying, ah, ah, and we see this fence suddenly splattered all red. And we know that Deadpool has gotten to Tom Sawyer and his friends at that particular point. Deadpool's also seeing, like, as he kills certain people from the Marvel Universe appear in his mind, and he knows he's killed off this heroic figure. So when he eliminates Moby Dick, he sees Prince Namor show up and knows that, or no, it was the Little Mermaid. When he kills the Little Mermaid, he sees Prince Namor showing up, and he knows that he's managed to get rid of Prince Namor's heroic origin by getting rid of the Little Mermaid. But finally, one of the evil scientists who developed the device sends a message out into the Ideaverse to let them know that Deadpool's coming through and killing all these classic literary figures. And they put together a hit squad, which is a spread page then of people to go and get Deadpool and stop him. Modify H.G. Wells' time machine to enter into the Ideaverse and chase down Deadpool. And the team is made up of Beowulf, Natty Bumppo, Mulan, and Dr. Watson and Sherlock Holmes. So they're going to go and stop Deadpool in the Ideaverse. And if you want to find out about their success, you have to read it. But it was just so incredible to me to see Deadpool moving through the literary universe, trying to kill off all these literary characters. And it was just so funny to see this whole process being played out. And will Deadpool manage to kill the heroic image of literature? You got to pick it up. I was just amazed that this was the sequel to Deadpool Kills the Marvel Universe, and it was an incredible read. So I hope some other people will take a look at Deadpool Illustrated.
Yeah, I've got the issues for the killing of the Marvel Universe, but I didn't know that this was directly related. So
yeah, the one of the first scenes is him sitting there going, "Oh, there's so many multiverse. How am I going to kill everyone off?" And he goes, "Aha! I'll go and kill the historic or the literary ideal of the hero, and then I won't have to worry about it anymore."
excellent. All right, we will jump to Katie for our next one.
Okay, so this is the day after Christmas, depending on when you're listening to it. So yesterday I read a very DC Rebirth holiday. This came out in 2017, and kind of the premise is Harley Quinn is hosting a holiday spectacular, and we get to read a whole bunch of stories from our favorite superheroes celebrating all the different holidays in the DC universe. If you've read any of the holiday anthologies, you're going to get the idea pretty quick. But I was actually really pleasantly surprised. There was quite a bit of substance to these stories. You know, I expected it would be fun, it'd be silly, but there was actually some really deep emotional moments. So I believe a few years ago for the holiday special, there was the DC Rebirth holiday they put out as, you know, like a $10 maxi issue. And then they included a few stories from Batman and one from Harley Quinn, you know, the main lines, also in this issue. There's, I don't know, about 10 stories in all. And I enjoyed all of them. Some of the ones that I liked the most were about Batman and Superman trying to get the hot toy, the hot Christmas toy for their children, and how successful or not they are with it. That was actually really sweet. Definitely made me reflect back on some of the hot toys that I really wanted. And then there was one where Crypto, the super dog, is in need of a special Christmas present. And so Clark and John actually make him a present. So a homemade gift is always very thoughtful, and they find a way to make Crypto a special present for a special dog. And then I think the one that I enjoyed the most was the Harley Quinn story, and it was absolutely unhinged, but it was hilarious. Harley apparently shares my enthusiasm for Christmas, and she is very disappointed when she finds out that Santa Claus is out sick and she cannot visit him to tell him her Christmas wish. So in typical Harley fashion, she goes to the hospital and tracks down Santa and finds out that he is fighting a war within his very soul. And only Harley Quinn, as it turns out, can save him, where she goes into his mind after being shrunk down to the size of a nanite and battles against all the things that Santa represses. So in order for him to be this jolly, happy soul, he has to kind of sideline the other parts of him. So Harley goes in and helps take care of the bad guys and convinces Santa Claus to come back to his regular self. And all that he has to give her in return is first in line to tell him what she wants for Christmas. This is really fun. Great for probably, yeah, I would say it's probably 12 years old. Just because some of the stories get a little violent, but mostly cartoon violence. I got this from my good buddies at Crimson Cowl Comics and Collectibles at one of our rummage sales. And it was great. It exceeded my expectations, and it was a very interesting holiday read. Something I thought was really nice is that, you know, obviously I celebrate Christmas, but there were holidays in here for everyone. So we had a few Hanukkah stories with Batwoman. We had some Christmas stories that were more secular. We had a few New Year's stories with the Titans. That was really cool. We have some Yule stories, and that was with John Constantine, so that was unexpected but very cool. A story with Yule set in England. And we had the Feast of the Three Kings, which I celebrate as the Epiphany, but in Mexico and in different Hispanic countries, they have the Feast of the Three Kings, which is celebrated on January 6th. And we had a fun story with some of the Green Lanterns telling us about their Three Kings traditions. So all in all, very good. Definitely recommend. You'll get your holiday cheer and some good story from our friends at A Very DC Rebirth Holiday.
Very cool.
Excellent. All right, my next one here is from the famous cartoonist Art Baltazar, Drew and Jot. This is the collection of Dueling, Doodles. Fifth grade best friends Andrew and Foz are creating the perfect superhero crossover with the power of their imaginations. Andrew's laser-eyed heroes, Drew and Jot, team up to fight Foz's Dr. Danger as the pair trade sketchbooks back and forth to create their action epic with new characters and new adventures. All right, this is yet another awesome Art Baltazar creation here. What's really cool is that it opens up and you see a much younger artist approach to this story. What Art does in here is kind of balance between two different styles by drawing as if kids are drawing comics. And so it's a very crayon heavy, which is what he does a lot of his work on too. Here's a good shot of Drew here, our lead superhero. And what's really cool then, it jumps into the actual story of Andrew making these comics. So this entire collection, which is a hardcover, it's probably like 160 pages, 150 pages or something. It's cool to kind of see the balance back and forth. Here's an example of both the main story and then the story that's happening within the comic being created by our characters. So Drew and Jot, Andrew is at this new school and he meets a kid who happens to look over and see his sketchbook and he's kind of wondering like, hey, it's a sketchbook. Do you sketch in it? And what do you sketch? And he's like, oh, I make up stories and superheroes. And he's like, hey, I have a sketchbook too. And I got this character, Dr. Danger. And then they decide to do a crossover. So these two newly best friends are making a comic together with their own creations. And what really gets fun in the story is when Andrew's little sister picks up the sketchbook because she wants to see what's going on, and she's rather disgusted because they concocted a poop monster for this current story, and she has opinions about that, and she eventually kind of gets thrown into the creative process of the story. So between the three of them now, they are all kind of coming up with ideas and characters and everything. One cool bonus is that if you're a fan of Art Baltazar, he basically draws himself in as Andrew's dad in this story. So you see a version of somebody who looks like George Clooney, that could also be a comic book artist. That is the combination of Art Baltazar. It's all true, everybody. It's true. But yeah, this is a lot of fun. Once again, it's just cool kind of seeing the styles kind of jumping back and forth and seeing him kind of doing that. It's a quick read. It's a fun read. It's great for all ages. And yeah, so that's one thing that I think he's doing another round of Drew and Jot. I believe this is the first volume. If you check out his Art Baltazar says things and draws things through the Oh Yeah Comics YouTube and on his Facebook live streams and all that stuff. He's been working on some of this, and as I talked about in the previous weeks, you can see some of this stuff being drawn and colored and lettered and things like that. So it's kind of cool to actually have the product here in your hand. And in the end, kind of has a cool character biography of everybody in the back, which is also still tying in with the story. So it's kind of cool just getting some extra little fun facts there, which dips into the end of the story, which makes me very excited to pick up the next volume whenever he does come out with it. So, superhero action adventure from the creator of Tiny Titans through Kaboom, the imprint within Boom Studios. This is Drew and Jot. Fun comic. All right, let's jump over to Kirby.
All right, much like Katie, I finished off my Christmas reading for this week, and we got Sleigher, the Heavy Metal Santa Claus, Volume 1. It's nice clean artwork inside. Lots of little giant creatures, giant snowmen and stuff that get to play with here. Sleigher is the most recent heir of the Santa Claus mantle, even if it's not really his bag. He'd rather slam back shots of bourbon than glasses of milk, and blast metal instead of carols. When a long-forgotten member of Santa's rogue gallery rears his ugly head to reap chaos and destruction across the world, Sleigher thinks he might have found his true calling, dishing out a holiday butt-whooping. Gotta keep it family friendly here.
Nice editing.
Saved me a lot of work.
Yeah, this is a fun comic. He just likes to rock out, have a good time. They finish up their gifting and their jobs, and he sits there and throws a big party before Christmas, big party after Christmas is over. I like the way the elves work the little gifts in this thing. They basically compact all the gifts into little marbles. So when Santa's at the house, all he has to do is throw the marbles, and as soon as they get near a Christmas tree, poof, they just turn into presents.
Like pin particles.
And so just like that right there, just rolls up and then poof, it's a present. But yeah, that was a nice little way to make Santa's work a lot easier and give the concept of the big bag full of stuff lasting them for how many houses. Helps them out with that. But you got an evil lady here that she would take all the evil children of the world and devour their souls, and she'd gain power from it and stuff. And Slayer's grandfather took her out, and then she took out Slayer's dad, or one of her siblings took out Slayer's dad, and that's Sleigher has to go back and deal with her. But every time he fights a creature, I can't find a good one in here, but there's all kind of different weird looking creatures and stuff he fights. But when he beats them, he basically sends them into the bag, and it sends them into another dimension, and that's where they're left so they can't harm anybody anymore. But yeah, there's the giant snowman with the big old machete for a nose. It was a fun story. Keeps you going. Lots of different characters that he has to deal with throughout the times. Evil elves, evil witches, people that want to take over his job, his business. But yeah, it was a nice fun break on the old standard Christmas stories, and made it a lot of fun. So yeah, check out Sleigher. This is volume 1, so I'm sure there's some more out there to be found. So, and it collects issues 1 through 4. So
once again, every week I say I don't know where these comics come from. I don't even think they exist until you just manifest them into your hands out of your crazy imagination, and here we are, week by week.
Everybody falls asleep before they get to the good part of the catalog. I start at the good part of the catalog and work my way back to the DC Marvel stuff.
That's the trick. We're doing it all wrong. You check out the catalog as if it's a manga catalog. So
Yep.
all right, which is kind of genius because actually they have the manga usually towards the back of the catalog. I wonder if that's okay. Move on to the next one here.
All right.
Um,
When I was talking about Deadpool Illustrated, I did forget there is a Christmas tie-in in this book as well. As Scrooge is sitting by his tombstone, asking the spirit of Christmas yet to come about what the future holds, he suddenly turns around and the spirit is dead. And Deadpool says, "What tall, dark, and ghostly didn't tell you was that your funeral is going to be of a closed casket variety." And then he goes on to say, "Sims, Scott, Murray, Finney, Winkler, even Lucci, all better Scrooges than you," before he kills him. So, not only does he kill poor Scrooge, but he insults him as well. Gideon Falls, number 27. We finally get to the end of the story. I know that Anthony was reading this along with me, so you can chip in anytime you like, Anthony.
well, I'll chip in right now by saying that just came out this week, and I probably won't see it for like 2 weeks.
Oh, okay. So you haven't, I'll do this non-spoiler then.
I'm going to stand off to the side so it's a little faint, but go ahead.
So to recap Gideon Falls as a whole, what happens is that there's, in Gideon Falls, this kind of mythical town that's created for the comic, there is a black barn that is kind of the receptacle for all that's evil in the town. And the series follows people who are uncovering what this barn is all about. And there's 6 different characters who are all involved in this unraveling of the evil that's contained within the barn. At one point, they manage to destroy the barn, which they hope will end the forces of evil in the town. Instead, what it does is it scatters that evil throughout the universe. And we are revealed. The one thing that kind of comes out in this is that the barn was meant to be more of a containment unit than it was a staging area for this evil. And so now in the last issue, they have been scattered throughout kind of time and space, encountering the effects of the barn releasing the evil into the universe. And now this final issue finally brings it all to a close. Can we possibly recontain the evil that was in this barn? And it's their efforts to do that, and it has a great turning point and ending. For anybody who hasn't read this, go back and start from the beginning in Gideon Falls. Gideon Falls is just an incredible, creepy, interesting sort of book. Very Stephen King in some ways. And it was an incredible piece of comic work that takes you into a very scary place, and along with the characters takes you on a journey that is pretty amazing. So if you haven't read this, pick it up. Gideon Falls. Now this series is complete, includes 27 books. The last one just came out, though they do leave in the end the possibility of going beyond. So you can take that off now, Anthony.
Okay, I am using the Spider-Man Tsum to cover up.
I didn't really give away anything anyway. You'll love the last issue.
Good. All right. Then we are going to jump over to the next person. If let me just check. Yep, Katie, you do have another one. Katie.
Yes, I do. And I'm actually going to review 2 together because I read them both together. Okay, so today, actually, I read XO-Manowar Volume 3 and 4.
Ooh, that's
now,
going back
this is from Valiant. It is, yeah. This is from Valiant, and this is from their 2017 series of XO-Manowar. If you do a Google search, you'll see this is one of their flagship titles, and it got rebooted in 2012, 2017, then 2020. I'm in 2017. So the idea of XO-Manowar is that Arik is from Earth, and a long time ago, he was abducted by aliens, and he got armor that has supernatural properties that only he can wield, and kind of makes him the ultimate warrior. And he got sent back to Earth in the 21st century, and now in this series, he's on a planet out in space called Gorin. So very out of his element. Previous stories had always been set like on Earth or sending him to space for a brief time and then bringing him back. This series, he is on another world. So let's see. In volume 1 and 2, Arik is what he was born to be, a soldier, and then he becomes a general after being press ganged to fight into a war that he actually has no stake in. But he did such a great job, he ends up becoming a general. And he decides that the emperor who's ruling this planet is a very, very bad guy, and they need to get rid of him. So in book 3, we see him kind of plotting how they're going to take over the emperor. There's a big fight, and Arik then assumes the mantle of emperor. And that lasts for about like 1 day before things fall apart, because it turns out the emperor was such a bad guy. He kept all the other bad guys in line. And then, well, that crumbled. And now all the bad guys from all the different races are fighting each other and bringing up old grievances and creating new ones. And Arik has no idea what to do. He does not know a thing about ruling or governing. All he really knows is strength through force. So just like we saw in the previous book, now kind of a council among Arik's people decide that he has to go. They want to get rid of him. He's no good. And so they hire a bunch of bounty hunters to take this guy out. And that's where I decided I was going to read volume 4. So in volume 4, the bounty hunters show up and they try and fight Arik and take his armor from him. And that does not work. The armor is kind of supernaturally bonded to him. And they think they've got him. They think they've got him cornered. And then, of course, he fights them and he wins. And he goes to this council of conspirators and said, you know what? If you wanted me gone, all you had to do was tell me so. This is not who I am. It's clear I'm not meant to be an emperor. And he basically says, you know what? You wanted me gone. I'm gone. You guys figure it out. And they do. And he takes the armor and kind of goes off into the wilderness for a while, and then ends up deciding he's gonna maybe go back towards Earth. And in the final chapter in volume 4, we see some of his backstory, where we're reflecting on the life he used to have in 21st century Earth and the family that was befallen by tragedy that he ends up leaving behind. Let's see. So that's what happens. This book is pretty well written. It's beautifully drawn. The art is gorgeous. It's pretty accessible. Like, I don't know a ton about the Valiant universe, and what I know about XO-Manowar, I Googled. So you don't have to know a ton to get into it. If you are interested in kind of a larger tie-in universe, Valiant does have one. They have a bunch of different superheroes and powered entities, and it's a little more literary and a little more grown up than you would see from maybe DC or Marvel. I guess the closest comparison for XO-Manowar would be like Conan the Barbarian, but in space. There's a lot of fighting and punching and kicking in this book. Quite a bit of action, so if you like that, this could be a really good book for you. Yeah, any questions?
I've never read the series at all. I might have some of the trades digitally, because there was I think a Comixology thing where they had like a bunch of huge deals, and I think that was in there, but it's always been on a long list.
Yeah, absolutely. And I would not say this is essential for comic book fans. I had actually heard about it on a podcast a long time ago. I was like, oh, that's cool. And then they did, like their $1 reprints, and I picked it up and liked that, and then went on from there. But yeah, so that's my review of XO-Manowar from 2017, volume 3 and 4 from Valiant Comics.
Cool. All right. My last thing here is something that definitely came out in 2020. This is called Marvel Heroes at Home. I talked about this in the previews catalog a couple months back. Being stuck inside isn't easy for anyone, even superheroes. How have your favorite Marvel characters coped with being cooped up? See how Spider-Man, Hulk, Captain Marvel, Wolverine, Black Panther, Captain America, and more do in quarantine. Let Marvel make you smile, courtesy of artist Gihiro and writer Zeb Wells. When I talked about this, I was surprised to see that it came in this little square pocketbook, um, which doesn't take away at all what the content is. I was just a little shocked because I guess I just didn't get that message conveyed to me in the pictures. But this makes sense. This is done in a Sunday Comics panel strip type of deal, and each character has a couple pages. And just kind of give you an example, it's the same artist doing it throughout here, so it kind of gives you a little taste of what it is. The majority of this little book is mostly silent. There's not a lot of dialogue. It's a lot just in. I'll give an example here of the Black Panther one, that he's walking to the dining hall, but he is stopped by the members of the Dora Milaje as they're like, "Hey, you have to wear masks. Mask required." And they're saying this to a masked up T'Challa, and he's just pointing. He's just like, "Yeah, I'm." My whole body's masked. But there's a couple pages. There's maybe like 8 to 10 pages per each one. So it just kind of tells the story from there. There's not much I want to give away just because of the stories are very short, but they are pretty funny. There's one where Captain America is trying to make dinner, and he realizes that the sink is full of dishes. I'll just say that. Spider-Man is basically just trying to like clean up around the apartment. I mentioned the Black Panther one. My favorite one, which not just because it's Captain Marvel, but because it probably was the funniest one, is this is the only tease I'll give, just because it kind of gives you an idea of what what it is. It is Carol who is arguing in space with a Skrull, and they're arguing, and then somebody pops up in the window as we have a Kree soldier. It might be Jan Rog, they don't really say, but we find out that they're actually zooming. So they're zooming their fight, and there's a good line here that I'll say this: the Kree soldier goes, "The different time zones are killing me." You know, he arrived late to the Zoom meeting, and the Skrull's like, "This only works if we all take it seriously." And the Kree soldier responds, I declare my intention to fight you both to the death, just as soon as that's a safe and reasonable thing to do." Responsible thing to do. So yeah, it's fun to just kind of like all of a sudden you just pan out and you just see that they're all they're Zoom arguing with each other in battle. So but yeah, so each one, the Hulk's in here, Captain America, Wolverine, and this is one thing who seems to be a common thread that we keep mentioning almost every week, is one of our favorite little mascots from the Marvel Universe as well. We can claim him in the comic club here, but Jeff the Land Shark, who seems to be a repeated guest in these comics. He is teased in all of these individual stories as little Easter eggs. I'll just give you one of them here. As Spider-Man is folding laundry, he's got a Jeff the Land Shark t-shirt that he folded into his pile there. So Jeff the Land Shark appears in that sort of Easter egg fashion in all of these stories.
So it's also kind of a "Where's Jeff the Land Shark" book, sort of book, like
yeah, pretty
Waldo.
much. Which I mean, hey, I would buy a big 100-page book of that. So put them in like there's like 200 lockjaws, and you got to find the one Jeff the Land Shark who's dressed as Lockjaw.
Yep.
He's wearing a Lockjaw Halloween costume.
Or a school of sharks, and you have to find the Jeff the Land Shark.
I might have to cut all this out of the podcast. This is a really good idea that we should be pitching this to Marvel. But yeah, this is fun. This is it was a $10 purchase. Now I could see some people, it's very, very slim, very small. I could see some people thinking like, okay, was this worth $10? I think I have no idea if this has any ties to any like charities or fundraisers or anything like that. I'm not sure if it had like if these were things that were online once and now collected. I have no idea, so maybe that's part of it too. But it's also, just a cute little coffee table type of book, and I think after flipping through it, it's something that I think everybody could find some humor in. And this is just a cute little book there. So that is Marvel Heroes at Home. All right. Then we will jump over to Kirby for his last title.
All right. Hopefully I can talk over the heater. We got Tales of the Buddha before he got enlightened.
Oh, so that's actually part of the title then.
Yes.
Okay.
It answers the question, just what did the holiest of men do before gaining enlightenment? The stories take an extremely lighthearted approach to Buddha's journey of discovery as he samples other religions whilst hanging out with other well-known religious icons, as well as getting the chance to experience life's more physical pleasures along the way. I'd like to show you some more artwork from here, but I'd have to study the pages to get a good one. And the art is nice and clean, but there's lots of Buddha in his younger days partakes in a lot of pleasurable party aids and lots of sexual exploitation throughout this story, so it's definitely not kid friendly, but it's fun just watching him how he hooks up with different deities and stuff throughout the ages and learns his philosophy while he goes through the different experiences of time. It's like he's just happens to show up at the right times of when things happen, like Mount Vesuvius and stuff, and all the different catastrophes throughout time. And he just happens to appear during them. And like you were talking earlier with Jonah the Whale and stuff, he also has his own Jonah the Whale story he gets into in this one. But yeah, if you want to find out what someone might have done before they became enlightened, it's a fun story. It's got probably a good 10, 12, 15 different stories thrown into here. But yeah, it's definitely fun. He goes through so much stuff in here. But yeah, definitely not kid friendly. So
Okay. All right. And I believe our last title of the weekly review segment, we'll kick it back to Dr. Kurtstad.
Yes, I'm kind of wrapping up series here for people. The last one I have is The Resistance, number 6, which is the end of this particular comic story. The Resistance begins with the entire world being hit by a pandemic, a disease that kills 98% of the people. But the 98% of the people who are exposed, 2% of the people, however, develop superpowers that will kill them within 6 months of first using them. But they now have all these superpowered people. Finally, one of the superpowered people uses her power and sacrifices herself to stop the pandemic, so that part of the world's population is preserved, not having to go through the pandemic. But now there's this split between those who survive the pandemic and have superpowers and those who don't have superpowers. And the authorities of the world are worried about these people who have powers, begin to regulate them and control them. At the same time, these people who have the powers develop a resistance group that says this is wrong. Just because we have these superpowers doesn't mean we should be treated differently, doesn't mean that we should be somehow controlled by the governments of the world that exist, or in some cases, the governments take advantage of and use these people who have the superpowers. And so the series then kind of follows this growing tension, this growing rift between people who have the powers and the people who don't have the powers. And in this last issue, in some ways, it comes to a resolution. This last issue starts with us seeing the people who have gained powers by surviving the pandemic, doing wonderful things to make the world a better place. Stopping people who are, white slavers, stopping a war, stopping other things, using their powers for positive things in the world. And yet at the same time, we get this vision of the governments of the world trying to figure out a way that we can control, stop, do whatever against these people who threaten their power in the world. And the United States government decides that what they're going to do is because there are laws that say unless you're registered, you can't use their powers. They arrest one person and begin to pressure them to become a spy for them in this superpowered resistance and find out who their leader is. And so you have this then plot going on to eliminate the leader of the resistance. And so I'm not going to give you the ending of the story. You'll have to see whether their plan works and what it does. But I will tell you that at the end, I just found out as I ended the book, because I was reading it on my tablet, that there is the Resistance Reborn that is going to start with issue 1 coming up. So we know that the story isn't complete, no matter what we see here at the end of the Resistance. But I think it's a powerful story about how do we respond to our governments when they want to control people who are their only really evil is that they're different in whatever way, and want to isolate those people. And do we resist that within our own lives when we come up against that kind of oppressive sort of government or the oppressive forces of the world in general that somehow try to exclude and cut people off, just first of all because they're different, but second of all because they threaten their way of doing things. It's an interesting vision of that, and I think it was really well written. I was really excited because it's written by J. Michael Straczynski. I loved Babylon 5, which was his creation, and he did not disappoint me at all in this series at all in any way. So I would certainly suggest for people to go back and read The Resistance. I'm sure it will soon be coming out in a trade paperback, and you can get the whole story at once then.
Cool. All right, that is going to do it for the weekly reviews, but we've got 2 more segments, and one of those is the Pocket Dimension, which is next. Okay, audio saved. And who all has stuff?
I've got something.
I do.
Okay, so we'll do the normal run through with Kirby, Dr. Kurtzad, and Katie. Then I'll pitch it off to you. All right. So yes. Well, now
Hi, Katie.
It's easier to show and tell when
Hi,
you can
everybody.
show.
I'm always.
Yes, I'm taking a risk in showing. I realize that.
There was.
Okay,
Yeah,
I'm gonna look at my belly. That's fine.
see, there was a second that I thought like David let somebody else in. And I'm like, did I miss a message that like Damon was showing up? And then all of a sudden, because another screen just popped up. So.
No, it's me. I figured Christmas gift to the YouTube audience is that. Oh, now my camera won't flip. That's cool. That's super. Maybe not. Well, I don't know. That's what my room looks like.
You live in the
upside down.
I do live in the upside down. Yeah, that would actually explain quite a bit. Oh, here, we'll do this. That makes so much more sense.
Maybe if we turn ours upside. Wait.
Yes. Yeah, that's how it works.
Okay. Before any other shenanigans happen, we'll just start recording. Okay, audio recording. Here we go. And now it's time to enter the pocket dimension to see what goodies are hidden inside. Special effects and all of that stuff. Here we go. Okay, because we don't want to disrupt what's happening on one person's shoulder, let's kick it off with Katie.
Hi, everyone. Merry Christmas to our YouTube audience and happy holidays. So Grogu and I are going to do some show and tell for you. So everyone listening knows I like comics. I love The Mandalorian. I don't know if everyone knows that I love tea. Okay, so where this intersects is that there is a special Mandalorian blend of tea from the company called the Republic of Tea. So Republic of Tea is a national brand. You can find it in a lot of stores. And they frequently do kind of collector blends and tins. And they did one for the Mandalorian, where we have a tin with Cara Dune, a tin with the child, and then a tin with Mando. I actually haven't opened them yet, so we'll do a little unboxing. And Grogu's going to help me use the Force, because I can't do this one-handed. So the Mando blend is with black tea. The child is with green tea. Very clever. I just realized what they did. I have a pretty good idea what those two flavors would seem like as a tea drinker. But the Cara Dune one is called Warrior Herbal Tea, and that one, I don't know what it tastes like. So we're going to open it and find out together.
So everybody get their mugs out. We're all going to have virtual tea.
Yes, we are. Oh, that's what we should do. All right. So
I have
here she is. Yes.
David's ready.
All right. So here is Ms. Cara Dune. Let's see. It says, a long time ago in a galaxy far, far away, after the stories of Jango and Boba Fett, another warrior emerges in the Star Wars galaxy. The Mandalorian is set after the fall of the Empire and before the emergence of the First Order. We follow the travails of a lone fighter in the outer reaches of the galaxy, far from the authority of the New Republic. So, my goodness, whoever wrote this did a really good job. The tasting notes describe this as a blend of sweet, tart, tropical flavors and herbs that helps you clear your mind while letting you wind down without caffeine. The ingredients are rooibos, natural passion fruit flavor, hibiscus, natural mango and vanilla flavors, peony petals, sunflower petals, and natural strawberry and grapefruit flavors. Alrighty, let's see if I can do this one-handed here. All right, Grogu, I need your force powers. All right.
Once again, YouTube. Crimson Cowl Comics on YouTube.
Yes, definitely YouTube this. For those of you who aren't familiar with Republic of Tea, they do come in nice tins and they are sealed and have a nice seal on them so the flavor doesn't get out. They are in sachets. So if you like loose tea, this might not be the blend for you, although you could easily cut this and steep it as loose tea.
Yep.
Oh, okay, there we go. So I'm definitely getting the hibiscus right away and some undertones of grapefruit. And yep, I am getting some vanilla and like almondy flavors there. All right, very cool. So there we go. Yes, everyone sniff.
It's not really coming through.
Darn it. Well, I'll have to come over when COVID's done and we'll all have a Mandalorian themed tea party because that's extremely niche. Let's see. There are 36 unbleached tea bags in here. I bought these in a set. The set costs about like $25. If you want to buy these individually, the tins are $13.50. So the price is pretty similar. One thing I did notice is that I could not get the set that had Mando and Baby together. So I had to get a set with Mando and Cara Dune and then Baby and Cara Dune. So you might get duplicates, but that's okay. More tea is always excellent. The shipping was free and I got it really quickly. I want to say I ordered this Saturday or Sunday and it came on Thursday. I'm showing the Mando tin for those who'd like to see it. Just little tasting notes on Mando. It's a hearty, deep blend of black tea, creates a bold and perfectly balanced infusion. Bounty hunting is a complicated profession. Fueling your exploits across the galaxy and awakening your senses should not be. The ingredients are black tea from Africa, South India, Indonesia, Sri Lanka, and Darjeeling. So it sounds like a pretty standard black tea blend. It does contain caffeine, if you're concerned about that. Or if you're like me and you're like, I need all the caffeine I can get. And then finally, let's take a look at the baby. These are a wonderful gift set, whether you want to get them for yourself or for your friends.
Definitely for me.
Let's see. Yes, absolutely. And if you're interested, I bought these directly from republicoftea.com. I've seen them on Amazon. I don't know if people are going to stores right now, but World Market tends to have the collector Republic of Tea a lot. Just some general information if you don't know Republic of Tea. They are a higher quality national brand. They have a lot of different flavors. One of my favorites is the ginger peach black tea. So it's a higher quality than I would say like maybe Bigelow, but not quite as high a quality as say like a fine loose leaf tea or a master's blend. And last but not least, we have the child blend. It's a green tea. Yes. Yeah. By the way, they're keeping it spoiler friendly if you haven't seen season 2. This is a bright green tea with ginseng and honey flavor combined for a calm energy and a clear mind. Ingredients are green tea, natural honey flavor, linden blossoms, eleutherio, which is kind of like a minty echinacea smell to it, and then Panax ginseng. This does also have some caffeine. But anyway, there we are. That's my show and tell, me and little Grogu. The Mandalorian limited edition tea. I have spoken.
Well, when you did that digital tea sharing, somebody over here really enjoyed it. So,
hi, sweetie. Oh, look at their friends. Oh, I am so glad that Grogu enjoyed his tea and his special matching mug. Oh, BTW, they were selling a mug with these, but it was already sold out. And I think Yoda Best is the best mug. So, yay. All right.
Well, actually, Tammy
one.
just got one of those mugs for Christmas too.
Oh,
Best?
very nice.
Yoda
Excellent.
Best, yeah.
The best you are.
All right, let's jump over to Kirby for the next one.
All right, a while back, I got some stuff from Heather Antos, and I happened to contact her again because with my Squirrel Girl, I wanted a tippy toe to go along with it. So I asked her if I could get a juvenile penguin for a tippy toe character, so it'd be smaller than tippy toe, but so we got to hold it back here.
Nice.
Because actual size, it's actually a little bit bigger than Squirrel Girl. But yeah, I got myself a tippy toe one.
Nice.
And of course, if I'm going to order it, I got to get one for Shelly. So again, I stuck with the vampire thing and I asked for Dracula because I got Morbius last time.
Yeah.
Did me a Dracula with the little teeth with the blood coming out of his beak.
That's awesome.
And then the main reason I contacted her, we were talking back and forth for a while, because I wanted to get something else done, and she said any comic book character. So I'm like, well, there's this one character that was laying in a dumpster pile. I'm like, could you do anything with them? And she's like, well, if you can send me some pictures and stuff. So I sent her a bunch of pictures back and forth, and we worked it out, and I came up with this character.
Ah.
That's cool.
And that's that criminal that we've seen in that X-Ray Robot magazine.
Yep.
Uh-oh, gotta watch out for him.
And he
On a
just happens to
surfboard.
be on a Silver Surfer surfboard there.
That's
That's great.
We're missing a little bit of the side hair and stuff, but
I'm gonna adapt to that look now. Let me go get my Shield t-shirt.
it's like I don't know how she came up with the Shield t-shirt because I look back at the pictures I gave her and I don't see a Shield t-shirt on there. But yeah, she
She thought there should be though.
yeah.
Yeah, if it's the because it might be I think it's the reference photo that I used for Mike and Laura Allred, which
Yeah.
I think.
I sent her those along
Yeah,
with
so
the robot one and your weird Al picture I sent her also. It's like I was kind of hoping for like a Silver Surfer board standing up on the side, like Surfs Up, the Penguin movie. When I first seen it today, I was kind of bummed out because I didn't notice the surfboard at first. But then when I looked at it a second time, then I'm like, oh, cool, it's got the surfboard on there.
yeah, so here is one of the photos from one of my photo ops. So yeah, I've got the shield shirt.
Oh,
That
cool.
was why it came up then. Yep.
It looks just like you, Anthony. It's amazing.
Right
Yes,
down
it
to the
does.
yellow beak and all. All right, well, didn't see that coming to make a reference to Quicksilver, as we mentioned earlier.
I did not expect her to even do it for me, but we talked back and forth, and she's like, "Yeah, I can do that, no problem."
It's a comic book character. That is a comic book character.
Yeah. So I'm gonna have the rarest collection of Anthony than anybody else in the world.
Hey guys, want to see my Anthony collection?
Who the hell is that?
His Anthony collection is going to be bigger than mine.
It's coming out in another comic book here very soon.
Although there's one thing that Anthony has in his Anthony collection that Kirby doesn't have yet.
His skin.
I will be.
Anthony will be right back. He has to go lock his doors.
I've got to go print a sign on the front of my place of work and refuse service to certain. All right. Well, any kind of Anthony-related merchandise from Dr. Kurtzstad? That
No, I don't have that. I do drive people around my house crazy though, because I love to get Christmas tree ornaments that are sound effect sort of ornaments and stuff. The one that drove my wife craziest was I had a Death Star on the tree that would go, and now you will see the power of this fully operational Death Star. It was like, well, that's a real Christmas theme, isn't it? So this year, I always try to get one during the year. This year, Yoda was my, let's see, I don't know if you're going to be able to hear it over this. I hope so, because this is actually one of my cooler ones. Yoda's mouth and stuff moves too. And he has a few. So this is one of my favorite ones that I've gotten. I've also got the Galileo that has Mr. Spock going, Spock to Enterprise, happy holidays. But this is this year's Little Yoda.
That's
that it has a moving mouth.
Yeah,
that's awesome.
that's very nice.
So,
Very nice.
This is this year's ornament, and it goes well with the child there, you know.
Of course.
Good. All right.
Mine.
Well, that is going to do it for the pocket dimension. So let's quickly jump out of it and go to the letters page. Okay, saved audio. Record next segment. Zoom window up. All right, here we go. Welcome to the letters page. This week's question is a sequel to last week's question. Last week we talked about whose name we would draw out of a Secret Santa and what we would gift them. But now somebody else got our name. So which comic book character drew your name in the Secret Santa exchange and got you an awful gift that you just want to return? I will kick it off. I'm trying to think of some other characters outside of some of the go-to characters, but the one I was thinking was Swamp Thing. To get a house plant from Swamp Thing there's two things that I would not appreciate from that sort of gift. One, it's probably from his own body. It's a body part that, maybe a lost limb or something, and he regrew it, and I that's too creepy for me. I don't need that around. And also, when that is around, Swamp Thing can usually manifest himself by just like showing up. So if there's like, the plant in the corner, he could just pop up out of nowhere, maybe uninvited. And I think that is a gift. I don't want to give him that instant access to kind of show up whenever. So if I got a plant like product from Swamp Thing and a Secret Santa, I would try to get the receipt on that one. All right, David.
Well, I don't know. I was having problems with this one, but let's say, speaking of our Anthony collections, I got a gift from Gene Guy. All right. But the problem is the gift's not finished. It's not even completed. And
True.
I don't even know where to return it to. So that's the whole problem with my gift from Gene Guy.
Yep.
It's incomplete. There's no gift receipt, no idea where to send it back to. And so that's, what are you gonna do?
Yep, that is a deep cut reference, a little inside baseball, if you will, not to bring sports into it, but yeah, it that would be a very difficult gift to deal with. So, all right, let's jump over to Kirby.
Like Anthony, it was hard to think of what a character would give you, all the main characters and stuff, and I thought about Groot and Swamp Thing and Poison Ivy and stuff with a plant, but you never know what that plant's going to turn into. And with Groot and Swamp Thing, they're taking it from their body, and they can always reform from themselves anyways, so you never know if they'd pop up themselves down the road. So I researched a bunch of oddball characters, and I came across like Hemogoblin. He's a vampire that infects people with the HIV virus. So I'm like, I don't want a present from him. But then the one I ended up choosing was Leather Boy. It's like, you never know what type of BDSM type of toy he's going to give you for the holidays. He's got his little fetishes going on and stuff, and all his leather and stuff. Just never know what he'd come up with. Even though he did make an all leather Dr. Doom outfit, but
Yeah, that would be a very awkward gift to receive from, but not unsurprisingly from somebody named Leather Boy.
yeah.
So immediately, if even if you were the one to draw that name out of the hat, you just be like, oh, let me pick another one. All right, Dr. Kurtstad. Now, remind me, because you weren't here last week at all, were you?
Yeah, I said I would give something to Spider-Man, a Spider-Man watch.
Okay,
to let him know.
Okay, because you're.
Though I was tempted to give Daredevil Oculus because.
Okay, yep.
I wonder.
I just wanted to give you an opportunity to answer that, but yep, you were here last week. So, what's your answer to this week?
Well, Reed Richards gave me this really nice thing that he said that he'd made himself, and I asked him, well, what does it do? And he explained it to me, and I still haven't got any idea what it will do. I'm afraid to push the button on it. I don't know if it'll take me to the neg zone or shrink me to the size of an atom or what. So it just sits here on my desk.
Hey, it could be an ultimate nullifier for all you know. So
yeah, so it's kind of scary.
Yeah, that would be something. And knowing him too, he's probably still tinkering with it, and he's probably not even exactly sure.
Exactly sure. So I'd love to give it back, but I know it would offend him a lot. So
he'd probably be sitting there in his lab, and then it would be like the night before going to the holiday party in a world where that could happen. And he would just be like, oh shoot, I forgot to get something for He opened up his note. It says Dr. Kurt's dad. He's like, okay, Dr. Doom, I already got him figured out, but I didn't get Dr. Kurt's dad. And then he like looks around. He's shuffle around all of his papers. He just grabs one of his projects, and yeah.
So it'll just sit here.
And while all that was happening, his wife Sue Richards was using the gift I got her, which was that spa day.
That's right. She's off on the spa day. What? I wish I could swap her.
All right, so that's a great way to advertise both this week and last week's episode to get that kind of that full circle Secret Santa letters page.
Still got
Spectacular.
Katie the elf.
Oh yes, I'm sorry.
What's your favorite color?
Jump over to
All
Katie.
right. Okay, so I learned that Harley Quinn shares my affinity for Christmas. However, what we do not share is an affinity for mayhem and bloodshed and madness. So I think Harley Quinn is going to send me one of those glitter bombs. You've probably all seen the viral video of like the thieves trying to steal packages off someone's Porsche, and it's a glitter bomb and it just covers them in glitter and paint. I think Harley Quinn is going to order me one of those from Etsy, and I'll open it up and it'll start playing "We Wish You a Merry Christmas," and then I'll just get head to toe covered in glitter and confetti and fluorescent paint, and it'll take weeks to come off. And I will go to return it, and Etsy is no returns, and it was used. So I got pranked, and I can't return my gift. Thanks, Harley.
And she was laughing all the way home.
Yep.
She was. She probably had like a little Raspberry Pi camera installed in there, so she can watch it, and then I'll be the next viral video. But I wasn't even trying to steal a package. I was opening up my own. So, yep. Thanks, Harley. I
Just
appreciate
keep it
it.
till New Year's and give it to someone else to open. And
Oh, there you go. And then we'd be festively correct, because then we'd have confetti for New Year's. That would be perfect. What a great idea. I love it.
All right. Well,
Yeah, see, I actually had a second one, but I wasn't sure if I should do two. So
sure, go ahead, do it.
Yeah, go for it.
I thought the Gene Guy one would be fun because
in the
and the
spirit
other
of
idea I
Christmas-
wasn't sure about. But see, I was discussing changing into your costumes with Batman and how to go about doing it. So for Christmas, Batman sent me a replica of the Batpole. The problem is that when he ordered it, there was a little miscommunication, and so they actually sent me a replica of the one from the Black Label Batman comic book series, and I don't need that thing laying around. So, so I got to
It's a
send
collector's
that back.
item.
Yeah, you probably should have just stick to that first answer. Well, you know what? I think that is going to do it for this this week. Speaking of the new year, because it's going to be a brand new year when we record again, right?
Yes,
Yeah.
it will.
So this is going to be the final Crimson Cowl Comic Club podcast of 2020. So we will be back, of course, next week. Hopefully, possibly talking about a crossover issue number 2, as long as we got our club members and we get our deliveries of that issue and we can check that out. We'll, of course, return to the regular program with all the other segments and such. And I think that is going to wrap it up for this particular week. So this entire time, this entire time, I have stolen Galactus's Galactusness.
I've been busy trying to figure out how to return gifts.
I've been shredding out with Santa and the gang at the North Pole celebrating that Christmas is over.
I've been staring at Reed Richards' gifts, wondering what it is.
Now, I just like smiling. Smiling's my favorite.
Ooh.
To be continued.